This week's Pokemon card market update can be summarized in one sentence, and that is Pokemon cards go brrrr. Because honestly, this market is showing no signs of slowing down. So this week's video will probably be a little shorter than normal just because anything I look at is basically up, especially when you're going to be looking at the first 10 pages of the best-selling list on TCG Player like I do every week. And so there really won't be too much to say, but again, as always, I'll go through what I am buying because I am still buying things, but what I am avoiding because I'm not just buying the most recent stuff because some of the stuff coming out of the gate is way too hot for my liking. So I'll hop right into it. And like I said, if you have interest in this, please drop a subscribe to this channel because I go over these market videos weekly so that you don't have to keep up with every product. You can just listen to me run through, give an update on what's still moving up, what might be slowing down. It'll be interesting to see when we hit some sort of slowdown, what products see it first, if it'll be single cards, if it'll be sealed boxes, or what starts selling off immediately if things start going the other way. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. But for now, like I said, the general sentiment is we are in a rocket going past the moon heading towards Mars. Mega Evolution booster box still showing $300 pre-order pricing, and that's insane to me. In my opinion, if I'm going to be paying $300 for a booster box that's a pre-order, I'm saving that for the Charizard and the Gengar set. And then when that set comes out, if that set's coming out for $300, maybe. But again, I would only be buying like 1 to 2 because we're in such an unprecedented era. I wouldn't be buying cases at $1,800. But again, when you look at the per pack price on this, if you look at a booster box, 36 packs at $10 a pack, that's $360. So the pack breakers, and with the way Pokemon seems to not be reprinting booster boxes, maybe 200, 250 is the norm going forward. But I do think eventually we'll get down to some sort of normalcy. But in this sort of market, you know, I don't know that these boxes are going to be much lower than that $250 mark. So at $300 for Mega Evolutions, I'm passing. I have one box of this that I purchased from Football Pete at $250. Again, $250 is where I'm comfortable, and even that was just for my collection. Anything for investment purposes, I'm holding off and hoping that they reprint this going forward. But again, Pokemon seems to be reprinting or printing a whole bunch of new collection boxes for the last half of this year. So it'll be interesting to see if they continue to pump out those collection boxes to get packs out there, and maybe they're letting these booster boxes be a more collectible item, like the collector's booster boxes in Magic the Gathering. So maybe that's their plan going forward, to just release a few waves of booster box for collectors and then let the collection boxes be for the players and all that to get cheaper singles and cheaper packs. But at $300, moral of the story, I'm avoiding this $300. Same thing, I'll skip a few to go to the Destined Rivals booster box. Exact same thing on this. This is $335, and the danger of this is any reprints, you've already seen some reprints of this, and like Danny Phantom, my favorite YouTuber, sells on PokemonColiseum.com. He normally has the best prices anywhere. He's been selling for years. Awesome dude. I love his channel, love his store. I've been supporting him for the 3 years I've been in the hobby. But even he had to sell his Destined Rivals booster boxes. He got a small reprint of booster boxes, put them on his website for $300, and they lasted less than a day. So even if we get a reprint, distribution is going to be selling them closer to market cost. And that means the LGSs or online stores are going to have to be selling them above whatever the price they get for, which will be above market as well. So, you know, each month we go on, it gets less and less likely Destined Rivals is going to come down to MSRP, because now it's got to drop all the way from 350... 335, 350, 345. I mean, it's got to drop from 350 to 160 to be on pace for MSRP. And, you know, I don't know that will happen. I think if it gets any significant reprint and drops off, people will start buying it up. Personally, I have 4 boxes of this. If you watch my channel, you know I got them at about $220 each. I'm happy with those. I'm not buying more at $300. My plan going forward is that hopefully Destined Rivals falls out of flavor with the new Mega Evolution set if we get into Gen 10. Maybe Destined Rivals will be a little bit on the back burner. People won't love it as much. Maybe we go into a slowdown in Pokemon a little bit, and the Destined Rivals booster box is available at $250, $200 again. But even that is looking less and less likely. But if I miss out, I miss out. Again, I'm one to be very risk adverse. I try to limit my downside risk. I know Rudy just had a big video about, you know, once things get higher, there's actually less risk to them because they've proven themselves. And that's true, but also, in my opinion, it's just much more likely this Destined Rivals booster box drops down to $200 from $350, rather than something like a 151 drops down, you know, from $10 where it's at to $5 a pack. So, in my opinion, Destined Rivals is still a little bit too risky for me. But if they change the way they're reprinting booster boxes going forward, I could see this continue to run. But for me personally, I'm not buying any more of these. 151 booster bundles. This is one I was mentioning buy last time, and now it's already run up to, looks like 75, 91, 85, 85. So somewhere between $75 to $85 on these bundles, which were just $65 last week, which is crazy. But if you can grab these, I still think these are a good pickup anywhere under 100. Ideally, if you find them from people that just, got them for 30 bucks. MSRP on these is still $30, but it's almost a 2-year-old product. I think this month it'll be 2 years old. So I'm picking up as much of 151 as I can. I have enough booster bundles that I'm not buying these bundles specifically. Again, at $90 a bundle for only 6 packs, that's way more than price per pack. Whereas I would rather get a Blooming Waters box and break that down to get around $10 a pack. But if you'd rather have a sealed item, I think this is a very good sealed item going forward. Sealed items will always perform a little bit better than the sealed pack, and these are very compact, which makes them very easy. So if you can still find these and pick these up, I still think they're good because 151 is just that iconic of a set that it'll do very well going forward. Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes, this bounces back up. Again, anytime it gets close to that $100 mark, it bounces up. So if you look at most recent sales, we're around 103, 107, 106, so comfortably above 105 now. Last week it was about at 100. And that's what I said. So I'm on eBay looking for these. If I can pick these up, I'm sending people offers around $80 to $85. A lot of times people are still finding these out in the wild. So if they get them for 50 or 55, 60, whatever they are, MSRP, they're willing to flip them for 80, 85 to me, and I'll pick those up at 80 to 85 because I know Prismatic Evolutions is still in print for another 2 years. However, we've seen with 151 that they like to print these big collection boxes. They've been Blooming Waters everywhere. There's that new Prismatic Evolutions collection box at Sam's Club that has 12 to 14 packs, something like a Sea and Sky box, something like a Blooming Waters, the exact same thing. So if Pokemon continues to print only those and bypasses these Prismatic Evolutions ETBs, eventually they'll make a run, just like 151 made a run, and you could see Prismatic Evolutions ETBs at $200 this time next year if it follows the same path as 151. So in my opinion, I am picking these up. Like I said, last month I picked one up at $85. I'll be looking to pick up more if I can get them for that $80, $85 mark. That is really my sweet spot, but I wouldn't be opposed to picking these up at 100 because even if you sit on it, even if they get printed for the next year, if you sit on it for next year, I think these will be fine going forward. I don't think they'll be printing these for a full 2 more years. Prismatic Evolutions has already been out 6 or 7 months, so I would guess probably 1.5 years left of printing, and eventually they're going to have to move on to the newer sets. So I think Prismatic Evolutions, if you can find it for 80, $85, or if you can find those packs or those big collection boxes, those are really good too. If you can break down and start picking up some packs at MSRP, those would be really good to hold on to. So I'm starting to pick up Prismatic Evolutions now, especially with 151 creeping up higher. Eventually, these two were the same price for the longest time. Eventually, 151 is going to start going up, and Prismatic Evolutions is going to start coming down. And then I'll switch my focus from 151 to Prismatic. We're getting close to that point, but I still like Blooming Waters overall. But if you can find some Prismatic Evolutions ETBs for cheap, those are great pickups. Single cards real quick. Charizard EX, I'm still trying to buy these. This has already made a run. I've been mentioning this for 3 weeks that I've been picking up these. I still like these. These were around 180 when I was mentioning them. Now it's all the way up to 254, which is crazy. 250, 269, 2 that sold for 340. I'm not sure what those are. They're outliers. 268, but still comfortably above 250. And when you look, there's some available for 250. So pretty comfortable around that $250 mark. And PSA 10s are going crazy on this. I do think this is an iconic card. I'm still picking up these, but what I'm trying to do is trying to grade them and flip them. Again, I'm not sure what to think long term. This is obviously a super unique card, but we saw the Brilliant Stars Charizard V sit there forever, stay stagnant for a while. Interesting, the Champion's Path Rainbow Charizard has been about $150 now for the longest time. Let me see if I can find that one. And so that's my fear with these newer cards. Like, look, this card ran all the way up to $211, all the way down to $155. $155, but Champion's Path is such an older set, and this card was very hard to pull. The Charizard from 151 is one of the most graded cards of all time, and it's, up around $250 for raw, when this card is only $150. It's just a little bit scary to me, seeing these 151. And the thing is, this Charizard was the coolest card ever when it first came out. People were chasing it like crazy. Now, the 151 Charizard is the coolest card ever. You look back and you're like, well, yeah, Parrish, the 151 art is way cooler than this Charizard VMAX art. That's true now, but at the time, this card was the cream of the crop, top tier card. So in the future, we could get a card that we get that makes the 151 Charizard look like chump change. And we're thinking, oh, that card's old news. I want this new card. And the 151 Charizard could lose favor for sure. So that's my only fear with the 151 Charizard. Again, I'm still picking them up to try to grade and flip, and I'll probably hold 1 or 2 here or there. But it's just seeing this card specifically just triggered something in me that, wow, this card is super cheap for how old and hard it was to pull. And personally, I love these VMAX cards. I think the shiny one from Shining Fates was one of my favorite cards in the Sword and Shield era, and that's what got me back into the hobby. And this card was a grail of mine that I chased forever. Not opening, but it was my grail when I first got into the hobby. And eventually I bought it for myself in a PSA 10 as a birthday present because it was just so rare and so, hard to find and hard to grade. So honestly, these cards like this make me a little bit hesitant to be buying into all the hype of single modern cards, but I'm still buying them, just trying to flip them, because I do think going forward through the 30th anniversary, at least through the holiday season and through the 30th anniversary, I think these single cards will continue to pump. So I'm trying to buy them, get them while I can, but I'm not afraid to sell these into the hype. Most all of the single cards that I'm buying and I'm talking about are for quick flip plays. I will probably hold one of all the 151 SIRs in a 10, hopefully, for the long term, but in general, I'm flipping those just because singles are a little bit scary to me. Exact same thing with this Mew EX. I'm not chasing this. This thing got away from me. It's almost doubled in like 1 month. Gone from $399 all the way up to $680, almost $700 card, which is insane. So yeah, $715, $705 last sale. So this one definitely got away from me. This is annoying because I was trying to buy it at $300 and do the thing where you buy it on eBay, send it right to PSA to grade, and for some reason that service wasn't working, so I just exited out and didn't buy it. But another one that I'm not chasing. Again, downside risk. I do not like chasing, so I will not. Same thing with Evolving Skies booster boxes. We'll take a look at it here. Just King of Kings of Sword and Shield, and this thing, continues to go crazy. $2,750 for the last sale, $2,700 on the 30th. This just continues to go crazy. And, King of the King for rightful reasons. Evolving Skies is an amazing set. Terrible to open, but a pretty good collector set, especially with all the hits that you can get from it. And just an iconic box that, I think will continue to do well. But personally, I'm not chasing $2,700. I would rather take $2,700 and I could put it into a lot of other plays. And for me personally, I like diversification. I know some people will just say go all in on one play if it's the best, but I like diversifying. Prismatic Evolution booster bundles down to 55. I said to be patient on these because I anticipate more reprints and these will keep coming down like 151 did. And I firmly believe that these will still keep coming down. So I'm saving the ones that I have, but I'm being patient to buy more. I think around $45 to $50 is where I would be looking to pick them up. And when you look at more sales data here, there were some sales at 60, but there were 2 50, 50, 50, so there were 3 sales at $50. So I'm sure those are just 1 or 2 bundles, but at $50, I would feel pretty comfortable with that. Again, I see this going the exact same way at 151. I think 151 got down to about 45 bucks or so. So that's where I would be looking to pick these up at. I'm holding the ones that I have, picking up any that I can at MSRP, obviously, but as far as going on the secondary market, I'd be patient on these. Black Bolt, White Flare, these are still very good to open if you can find some in the wild because hit rates are so good. From an investment standpoint, there's just plays that I have more faith in, and that's where I'm putting my money, whether that's single cards to flip or 151 or prismatic to hold. That's kind of my hierarchy for Black Bolt and White Flare. Those are still good. I have like 2 ETBs that I found in the wild just at MSRP, so I'm holding on to those, but other than that, I'm not buying these at market. Surging Sparks, I do still like this. I bought one of these last month at $250 just because I like holding it. I think it's the 3rd best set of the era. And when you look at all the other booster boxes at $230 or above in the Scarlet and Violet era, I think it makes sense to buy Surging Sparks at $250 just because of how close it is to those other ones. And I think it's a better set than all those other ones. So in my opinion, Surging Sparks isn't bad, especially if we talk about the ETB coming up. I think that's a good one. The Paldean Fates booster bundle, surprising to see this above 151, but 151 just got printed so much more than Paldean Fates, and especially with the Mew doing what it's doing, it makes sense that this is so expensive. But at $100, again, sort of the same thing I mentioned with 151. These are still fine at $100 because I think these will do well. The only hesitation is that Paldean Fates is obviously newer than 151, and we've had so much 151 that it could be possible that Pokemon Company prints some Paldean Fates now after they rotate from 151 to Paldean Fates. But it's also possible they just skip Paldean Fates and go straight to Prismatic Evolutions. And in that case, Paldean Fates would go crazy. So it absolutely makes sense to pick some up here, especially if you don't have any. I personally have a sealed display of these, but that's about it. I'm not picking up any more booster bundles. Again, I would just rather have 151, but I could see if you don't have exposure to Paldean Fates, I would suggest getting some because of what the Bubble Mew is doing. I think Paldean Fates will be one of the better sets of the era as well, and those will do very well long term if you don't have any. Blooming Waters are already going up. 139 is crazy. You can still find these on eBay for like 120, 125, and that at that point, again, it's only $10 per pack for 151, so I'm still picking up as many of these as I can. Usually if I make a big sale on eBay, I'm rolling half of the profits into more single cards to try to run the play again, but then half I'm picking up Blooming Waters collections. And I'm just breaking them down because they're awful to store. I really don't like them. Prismatic Evolutions SPC. I had someone in my comments ask me a question about this one. I personally don't have any of these, but I think they'll do fine. I think, again, just like 151, they will do about what they did. So I could see this doubling in a year or two, whatever. For me personally, I was always waiting because every single super premium collection has come down except for, I think, Celebrations, and I wasn't around for Celebrations. So I assumed this one would do the same. But with how crazy Pokemon is right now, I don't see this coming down to $80 or whatever like the Charizard and 151s did. So you can get your hands on these if you don't have any, and you'd rather have those than Prismatic Evolutions Elite Trainer boxes. That's totally fine because, like I said, I think it'll do just what 151 did, and both will go up eventually. But in my opinion, I'd probably rather have, if I could get, Prismatic Evolutions ETBs at $80, you could get 3 for the same price as 1 SPC, and I'd probably rather have 3 ETBs than 1 SPC, but that's just me personally. Both should do fine. The Mew EX continues to go crazy. Again, I'm not chasing that. I'm actually still holding off. I might sell one of those. Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box, that keeps coming up a little bit. I think there was a restock yesterday on these, but it was not very big. So 340, 340. Yeah, these continue to do very well. Market price is 332, and it looks like 340 is the cheapest on for sale. So these keep marching up a little bit. And if you don't have one of these, might be time to buy one. I think it would do the same thing as 151. I'm personally holding the ones that I do have. I have a sealed case of these that I'm trying to sell on eBay, but it's for very high premium. So I expect this to run up pretty well. I'm being patient with that box, and then I have 4 individual loose ones that I'm just holding on to. So that's my play. I'm holding on to the ones I have. I'm not buying any new ones. But if you don't have exposure, again, I could see this doing exactly what 151 did and eventually be a $1,000 box. 151 booster packs, it actually shows $12.50 here, which is kind of crazy. Again, I'm still picking these up for $10. So if you can find these in Blooming Waters, it still makes sense. They're looking like sales at $12.99, $12.99, $12.99. So maybe they might be making a run to $13. I do think one of these days you'll wake up, it'll be $13, $14, $15 a pack, and you'll be like, wait, when did that happen? I thought 151 was $10 a pack. So that's why I'm picking up as many Blooming Waters as I can. Still love 151. This is actually my pick of the month in my investing short. So I'm picking up as much 151 as I can. Surging Sparks Elite Trainer Box. This one is an interesting one because if you normally in investing, the king of investing is booster boxes, but with these being restocked, these Elite Trainer boxes being restocked at LCS's and Costco's, I think if you're on a budget or you're looking for something a little bit cheaper, these are a very good entry point at, it's showing sales here 77, 77, 80. So if you can find these at Costco or something, then that's, buy these all day. If you can find anything at MSRP, obviously that's a buy. But if you can find some of these on Facebook Marketplace from people who have gone to Costco, you could probably talk them down to 60, 75 bucks. And if you can get those there, I like these boxes. If it comes down to this or Prismatic, if you can talk them both down, if they were both at 80 bucks, I'd probably have Prismatic. But with Prismatic at 100 and Surging Sparks at 80, it can make sense if you're trying to save a little bit of money to buy Surging Sparks. But again, I would be trying to talk people down to 70, 65, and see if you can make some deals happen there. But these are pretty good if you're on a budget. Again, I still think Surging Sparks is like the 3rd best set of the era. So Destin Rivals booster bundles at 47 isn't bad. I still think Destin Rivals will be printed more, so I'm holding off on these personally, but I could see the argument if you're wanting to buy these. Charizard is having a little bit of a pump. So I've been saying in every single one of my videos that I think Charizard will have a pump with the Mega Evolution block, and it's finally starting to happen. So you can see the Charizard EX here, which has been my buy of the month for the last like 3 or 4 videos I've done. And this thing has run from 160 bucks all the way up to now 250, 250, 260. So this is selling pretty comfortably at 250 now. Another one of those that I'm not sure if it'll last, but my personal favorite card of the era. So I had been buying as many of these as I could. Unfortunately, now again, it's already run up to $250. I think that's close to its all-time high. Yeah, that is its all-time high. Last all-time high was 217 back in February this year. So it's obviously blowing that out of the water. So I'm still trying to buy as many of these as I can, but again, at 250, it just feels a lot worse because I just have price memory of, it being back here in the hundreds. So these are kind of tough. I'm going to be slowing down my buying on these just because of my whole spiel in the beginning about the Charizard from Champions Pass, but I still personally love this card. My favorite card of the era for sure. Umbreon EX, from Prismatic Evolutions, SIR continues to come down, and I think this will continue to come down, especially with those collection boxes being printed. I think this will continue to fall. I think eventually the Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates will surpass this card and be the card of the era, especially with how much they're printing Prismatic Evolutions. So if you have this card, you probably should have sold it already, but we're getting close to the point where you might just want to hold on to it if you've got it. It depends on how much they print these collection boxes, like 151, but eventually these will hit a bottom. I'm not sure where that will be, but with more and more of those collection boxes coming out at Sam's Club and all that, I would be patient on trying to buy this. I still think there's a little room for this to fall for sure. 151 booster bundle display. We have to look at this. If I didn't have one of these, I would not be buying this. But because I do have one, it's actually my highest value item in my collection, which is awesome. I do take a look at this one every week. And when you look at sales, we've got $1,399, so $1,400 for the last 2 sales of these, which is just crazy. And then this is wild. If you sell, there's 2 without wrap. No, 3 without wrap. The lowest listed $1,725, and then the next one after that, $1,942. So this is like 3 sales away from being a $2,000 box, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I don't know. There's no way I'd be buying this if I didn't have it. In fact, like it's so tempting to sell, especially when you paid like $200 for this. When your stuff runs up 10 times in 1 to 2 years, it's so hard not to sell this stuff. You feel so greedy holding on to this, but I don't know. With how scarce these products are, specifically the sealed ones, it makes sense to hold, and I am going to hold, but this one, as it continues to get up there and up there, it's going to be harder and harder to hold. That's absolutely crazy to me. Lost Origin continues to do Lost Origin things. I think this is the second best box of the era. Some people might say Fusion Strike, which is great, and I do agree the top hits of Fusion Strike are better than the top hits of Lost Origin. I'm always thinking of it as opening experience. I love the Lost Origin Trainer Gallery. I think that Trainer Gallery is so much better with the Charizard, the Snorlax, Gengar, the Pikachu. I think all of those make for a better opening experience, but a lot of times, like you look at Evolving Skies, the opening experience is terrible, but the top hits are so much better. So I can see why Fusion Strike right now is the second highest box. I think both those will continue to be 2 and 3, knocking on each other's door. In this one, again, $850, $850, $839. So this continues to go up. Shows a market price of $800, but sales of $850. So this is just continuing to go up week after week. Paldea Evolve, same thing. This is a $400 booster box now. And again, for me personally, there's just better things I'd rather spend on if I didn't have this. People claim it's the second best set of the era. I don't know about that. In my opinion, I feel like it's overrated. And the only reason I say that, me personally, I love Gen 10. I played Pokemon Scarlet, beat it all the way through. Chien-Pao is one of my favorite new Pokemon. I personally love the new designs of Generation 10 Pokemon. I used Baxcalibur, I used Tinkaton, I used Chien-Pao. I used a lot of the new Pokemon in my playthrough, so I'm not really sure where the hate comes from, but it seems like people don't like Gen 10, or Gen 9, but then in the same breath will say Paldea Evolves the second best set when it features all of these Gen 9 Pokemon. So I'm not really sure where the love for this set comes from, since people don't seem to like Gen 9, but in my opinion, this one might be a little bit overrated, and that's why I'm not buying into this set personally. I still have 1 to 2 boxes of this that I'm holding on to, but I don't know. There's not much more for me to say. I've already rambled too much on it. I'm not buying this, but I am holding the 1 box that I do have. And I said this video was going to be shorter, but here we are almost 25 minutes in, and we're only on page 3. So now I'm going to speed run. Fusion Strike, we already talked about that. It's knocking on the door of $1,000, which is insane. But I do think it's the second best set, so that'll continue to do well. Brilliant Stars, I guess I can just make a sweeping statement, because there's Brilliant Stars here, Chilling Reign, Silver Tempest. Brilliant Stars at $520 market price, Chilling Reign at $563, and Silver Tempest at $444. I had someone else reach out and was asking me about Sword and Shield boxes, if they should be buying in. And honestly, these have run up a little bit too fast, too quickly, in my opinion. I could see them maybe not crashing, but definitely leveling out. You got to remember, again, something like Celebrations Ultra Premium Collection. I bought this in 2022 at $360, and it stayed $360 for 3 years until it had this run. I could see booster boxes, specifically Sword and Shield booster boxes, doing the same thing once this market eventually cools off. So in my opinion, I'm not chasing, but again, that's my bias. I know my bias. I don't like chasing these sets that have already run up. I am holding the boxes that I do have. I don't have very much Sword and Shield, so I'm holding the ones that I do have, but I'm definitely not buying into the hype, not buying into more, because there will come a time when these will start to stagnate. They might not crash. I don't really expect these to ever crash anything seriously. Again, I don't expect these to go to MSRP or anything crazy like that, but I do expect there will be some stagnation going forward. We just don't know when that is. Again, you could buy Brilliant Stars now and it be $800 by Christmas. With the way this market is going, that could totally be viable. But if you try to sell that $800 box, you're going to have fees and shipping and all that stuff. You're really not going to get paid if you're just trying to flip it. So in my opinion, there's just better places to put my money. But again, this market is insane right now. So who actually knows? Kingdra EX, this is up to $70 now, which is crazy. I still love that promo though. The Mewtwo at $40. This is silly. Honestly, this market makes no sense, seriously. But you know, that's why we try to play in the market that we can and make the money while we can, because this market's not going to last forever. Coming out, there's a bunch of single cards here on page 3. Blastoise from 151. I still love 151, so again, I'm picking these up as much as I can. The 151 Elite Trainer box at 355 is insane, but you know, 151's iconic, doing iconic things. But you know, at $355, you could probably pick up Celebrations, maybe even Pokemon Center ETB, and I might rather have that. I don't know. The Zapdos EX is actually making a move, which is good to see. I've been calling that. That's been my favorite card of 151. I've said that from day one. So this is finally getting some love, which is good to see. I have a whole bunch of these, and I think these will continue to do well with 151. Actually, now that we're on page 4, almost all of these are single cards, which is kind of crazy to see single cards making a pump. Because, again, in general, single cards were never seen as an investment. And looking at this Mew from Celebrations, just a normal rare holographic Mew for, am I reading this right? Hang on. $5.50, $7. If you were around and opened any Celebrations, please go through your bulk and look for these Mew cards. If you have these for $7, that is crazy. These were in the packs and was just obviously bulk cards. They were just bulk holographics. So I am going to be going through my bulk to pull some of these out, because at $7 for these cards that were obviously under $1 forever. These were, 25 cents. These were like bulk hollows a year ago. Now selling for $7. So if you got any of these, I'm definitely a seller of this rather than a buyer, but that is crazy to me. And that's kind of why we look at these front pages, because that's on page 4, not one that I would expect, but obviously going through some sort of buyout. The Eevee promo card from the Prismatic Evolutions ETB, $10. I still think that's a really, really good buy. I think that and the Snorlax, which is around $15 from the 151, because the Snorlax one specifically is from a $300 box, and for that card to still be $15, I think there's good value there. Same thing with this Eevee. Eventually these boxes will go crazy. This Eevee is a sleeping Eevee, cute Eevee, popular Pokemon. That will do very well long term. I think that is a very good pickup if you're trying to look for the next play, the ones that haven't run already. Like this Pikachu Secret Rare from Crown Zenith. Again, if you have some of these in your bulk, look at offloading them maybe, because at $35, these weren't that hard to pull from Crown Zenith. They weren't easy, but they were, not as difficult as they first were originally. So you might have some of these laying around and you can trade them into something else. If you sell the Secret Rare for $35, you could buy 3 of those Snorlax promos, and is that a better play? Maybe, but it gives yourself some more diversification. Prismatic Evolutions booster packs under $10. Again, I'm going to be looking, eventually I'm going to make the switch from 151 to Prismatic. I could see these Prismatic Evolutions booster packs continue to drop with all the collection boxes that get pushed out. So if these get down to $7, $8, I'll start picking them up then for sure, because Prismatic will do very well in the future. I know they're going to keep printing it, but eventually it'll go out of print. And eventually they'll have to move on to something else. So these are definitely one I'm keeping an eye on, especially with 151 moving up. If those go to $15, $18 a pack, then I'll definitely switch from buying 151 to Prismatic, because again, I don't like to chase. I'd rather find the next item to boom rather than trying to chase an item that has already boomed. So I'm buying 151 now, but there will come a time when I'll make that switch. That time is coming really quick. Crown Zenith Elite Trainer boxes, there's still some opportunity here. You look at 151 Elite Trainer boxes, which is very similar, and that's already at $350. But Crown Zenith is the last Sword and Shield set, and in my opinion, the best set from the Sword and Shield era. I think these will do very well, so there's some opportunity here at $200. I'll speed run. We're past 5 now, so I'll speed run to the last 5, and then we'll call it a day. But again, most of these are single cards, and I don't see anything interesting to me. This Mew that I've been calling out, these Trainer Gallery, Galarian Gallery cards are going crazy. This Mew from the Crown Zenith Galarian Gallery up to $36, which I remember this being a $5, $6, $7 card. I was buying them all day. So I've got a few of these, but again, because of price memory, I'm looking to offload all this stuff as it goes. And unfortunately, that's probably going to bite me, because like the Mew promo, I sold at $50. I thought I was amazing for selling at $50, and now they're $80. So I'm out of all of mine except for like 2. And that's the same thing that's going to happen with these. When they run up to like $50, I sell them off, and then I look, and 2 weeks later, it's $80 to $100. So this market is silly, but you've got to take some profits along the way. You definitely don't want to be stuck holding the bag, as cool as these cards are. You got Charmander and Squirtle from the 151 illustration rares, $48 and $47 respectively. That's crazy. These are running to $50. Again, you knew the starters, illustration rares were going to do well. I had been trying to pick these up. At 50, they still seem okay, just because that seems to be where the top illustration rares usually go for. You look at the Squirtle from Stellar Crown, same thing, $58. So I could see these still being a play at $50. I would still look to buy and grade and flip these, because these do really well. They're very hard to grade. So Ethan's Ho-Oh, 178. I'm glad I picked this up the other day at 150. This was just one of my favorite cards from Destined Rivals, so I decided to pick it up just in case. I actually cracked out my Lugia. I'm going to send the Lugia and the Ho-Oh together to try to get sequential 10s for both of those. That would be amazing. So that's kind of my hope there. Happy I picked that one up. The Charmander Pokemon Center exclusive, I think I called this out on one of my other videos. I bought a few of these, I think 2 or 3 of these at just around $150, and they've already run up to, where are they at? Yeah, 283, 299, 313, 214, 339, all over the place, but pretty comfortably on average above 275. When you look at some available for sale, 230, 217, 230, 230, 230, 250. So there are a few people have come to market with this one since it's run up so fast, which might slow the growth a little bit, but still near mint market price is $217. Which is much higher than it was, $100 back in July. I'm still picking up these Pokemon Center stamps. I still have a real good feeling about those going forward. Giratina Secret Rare, I still love that card. I think Crown Zenith will do very well. Celebration Charizard, I have to shout this out every single time. This is finally starting to move. We're seeing it bounce up to 120. When it has been 100 for the longest time. But it's at 120 now with sales at 129, 129, 127. So pretty comfortably above 125 with the lowest list at 125, and then it jumps up to 130. Interesting to see this one's still doing well. I've been calling this play for 3 years now. I've been running this play for 3 years now. I'm still running this play. I have a ton sent out to grading. I'm still buying and grading these. I'll probably buy these all the way up to 150. It would be much harder for me to buy these if they got to 200, but if the market was still there on a PSA 10, it would still make sense to buy these and try to grade them, but we'll kind of see how it goes. For now, I'm still definitely buying these at 125 though. That doesn't bother me. The Gengar at $30. Again, another trainer gallery, popular Pokemon. I think those will do very, very well, but I had been selling into this strength for sure. Maybe it's time to be a little bit more patient on the ones that I do have. And that's about it. Page 9 is sort of the same thing. Scarlet Violet booster box at $230. That's exactly what I was talking about with Surging Sparks. If I'm looking at $230 to $250 for a booster box, I'd rather buy Surging Sparks at $250 than Scarlet Violet at $230. I know people will say Scarlet Violet's much older, and there's a valid case for that. I will say, for sure, I'm not going to fault you for that. I do think there's a solid argument for that. In my opinion, Surging Sparks is just a better set, but again, look at how Vivid Voltage did. It was the hot stuff coming forward, you know, when it first came out, and then better sets came out, then it sort of fell out of flavor, and now it's not moving anything. So Surging Sparks could do the same thing, and I could be wrong, but that's why we diversify. We've got a few. I've got 1 Scarlet Violet base box and I think 2 Surging Sparks. So diversification never hurt anybody. This is exactly what I was talking about. The Celebrations Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box for $386. That's pretty close to the 151 normal Elite Trainer box, which is crazy to me. I'd almost rather have Celebrations, especially going into the 30th. But 151 just continues to astound and impress. So there's no arguing with 151 really. And then the Charizard from the Lost Origin Trainer Gallery. Again, I think all those Trainer Gallery cards will do well, especially popular Pokemon, so I'm still buying these, trying to grade them while they're still somewhat affordable. And that's all I've got. I mean, that was the first 10 pages. Again, the moral of the story is Pokemon continues to go up. Page 11, there are some good opportunities. I think the Charizard, the Gold Charizard is still an opportunity. The Pikachu from the Paldea Evolved Elite Trainer box is still a good one. And then the Ghastly from Temporal Forces, again, right at that $50 mark. $50 seems to be the market for these good illustration rares, which brings me to Articuno from Journey Together at only $20. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I've been picking these up raw, trying to grade them. I think these will do very well. I could see these making a run up to $50 once Journey Together gets a little bit older. And personally, people don't love Journey Together, so they're not ripping it as much as something like 151. So I could see this Articuno doing very well long term. So there's actually a lot of opportunity on page 11 here. But that's all I've got. I'll end it there. I appreciate you guys watching as always. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of my content? Do you like the investing stuff? Do you like the PSA returns? I've got one of those coming Friday. I had my live reveal on Tuesday, but I like to edit it up a little bit, show some numbers in Friday's video, so that'll be upcoming. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys are buying for this month, and let me know how much longer you expect this crazy Pokemon market to continue. I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, catch another one of my videos right over there, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.